Hi everyone, it's Bethany, and in this tutorial I'm going to be doing some infusible ink on the new Cricut Cosmetic Bags, and I am really excited because I just did a video a few days ago about all of the new infusible ink blanks that Cricut has released, and I'll place the little link up there if you guys missed it so you can see all of the new things that they have released for infusible ink. And I'm so excited because I have recently fallen in love with infusible ink, and I've recently spent a small fortune on infusible ink, so I'm really excited that we have a lot of other things to put infusible ink on. So these are infusible ink compatible. This comes in a set of 3. There are 2 medium size and there is 1 large size. So I'm going to be doing one of the medium ones today, and we're going to be doing a little makeup bag. I also have some ideas on how to make these into like a pencil bag or something that holds some supplies, because quite honestly, I'm not really one that carries makeup around with me on the go. So I'm going to be making this as a gift, but I am definitely a person who would carry supplies around because I have to keep my day planner with me at all times. So I would love to create a bag that is for my pens and my stickers and all that kind of fun stuff. So watch out for another tutorial. Be sure you are all subscribed so that you don't miss that idea as well, because I'm going to show you some inspiration on how to do a little bit of a pencil pouch with this same little cosmetic bag. So I'm going to be using again one of the little medium ones today. We are going to be using some Natalie Milan infusible ink for the Cricut Joy, and we will be using the Cricut Joy today. And I'm going to be using this pretty, I think it's almost like a watermelon color. It looks really cool, and I think it's going to look really nice on that white. So this is the Sunset Lagoon sampler. I will link everything that I use in the description box below. That way if you want to take a look at anything more closely or you want to shop this look, you will be all set and ready to go. So also we'll be using some scissors, and if we need to, we will have some tweezers. It's recommended that you do not use a weeding tool to weed infusible ink. I usually just use my fingers, and I'll show you how I do that, but I keep tweezers handy just in case. A brayer tool is helpful when putting it down on our mat. Speaking of mat, we're going to need our Cricut mat as well. I grabbed some cardstock, my EasyPress mat. We'll use the 9x9 EasyPress today. I think that's it, but if I sneak anything else into the tutorial, then I will be sure to link it below. So let's go ahead, hop into Design Space. I'm going to show you the file that we're using, and I'm also going to show you how we're going to get our heat settings for the infusible ink. All right, let's get started. Okay, so over in Cricut Design Space, I'm going to come up here to upload because there is an image that I have uploaded to Design Space that I want to use. This is the image right here. I'm going to select it and I'm going to click Insert Images. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use this little cute little quote. It says "Wake up and makeup," and I thought it was so darling. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get it sized for my design. So I'm going to make sure, I'm going to actually measure my little bag, which I forgot to do. So my bag is roughly 6x9. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the shapes, and I'm going to grab a square. I'm going to unlock the square down in this left-hand corner. That way I can make it any size that I'd like. And I'm going to come up here to the size box, and I'm going to make my width 9, and I'm going to make my height 6. And again, that's a really rough measurement. So I'm going to go ahead and then make this white just for visual purposes. And then I can go ahead and I'm going to send this to the front, and I will put this right on my bag here. So I'm going to size it how I'd like it. I think that's looking about right. Might make that just a tad smaller. That's going to look really cute. And I'm going to make this a nice pink color just so we can kind of get an idea of where we're going with this. And I think that's going to look really good. All right, final answer. So now what I'm going to do is it looks like over here they are in a little individual layers. So I want to make sure that these are attached so this all cuts on the same layout. So I'm going to just grab the entire thing and I am going to say attach. That way they are all going to cut together. So now what I can do is I'm going to come up here. You can do this on any of your cutting machines. I'm going to grab my Cricut Joy because that's what I'm going to use for mine today. And I'm going to say make it. Let's see. Oh, it's saying that I can't Oh goodness, I made my own mistake. I need to hide this. It's saying, what it's saying is, if you ever see a little triangle over here, it means that you have an image that's too large or a project that is not compatible with the Cricut Joy, like a printable, print then cut. So if you ever get this alert, then that's something to be aware of, that your current machine selection is not supporting the project that you want to do. So what it's saying is that this rectangle is too big for the machine, but I don't want this anyway. I was just using that for visual purposes. So I'm just going to hide that real quick. Now I can hit make it and it will be just fine. So now it's going to ask me if I want to do without a mat or on a mat. And actually, I don't need my Cricut. Do I need my mat? Yes, I do need my mat. Whoops, I'm like all jumbled today with Infusible Ink. So on the mat for Infusible Ink. And then it's saying I'm going to need my larger mat, which thank goodness I do have. And I just got a larger mat actually like a week ago. So goodness. I'm going to mirror this. And the reason it's saying that I need a larger mat is just because my design is longer than the original mat that the Joy comes with. So it's all mirrored and it's all ready to go. So I'm going to click continue. It's going to locate my Joy, and then I'm going to be able to select my Infusible Ink for my transfer sheet. So I can go ahead and say Infusible Ink transfer sheet right here. It's going to remind me to make sure mirror is turned on, and I can verify that right here. It's mirror is on, and that the material is ink side up when I place it on my mat. And I'm going to go ahead and use default pressure and get it loaded on the mat, and we'll get it cut out. So for the heat guide, I'm going to use my Cricut EasyPress 2. I am going to be using the Infusible Ink transfer sheet, and my base material is going to be the, let's see, well, yesterday I thought that they had put all of their, let me refresh the page, because these are brand new materials, so I'm wondering if they haven't put them on there. I thought I saw them yesterday though. Let me try one more time. So let's try again, Infusible Ink transfer sheet. And let's see, they haven't put them on there. Okay, so that's okay. I'll just use the tote bag and then I'll say apply. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see right here the layering instructions. I thought they had put the cosmetic bags on there. I thought I saw those. So I'm not sure if they are fixing something or what. But anyway, we'll just follow this instruction and that'll be just fine. One thing we're going to do is we are going to place our cardstock inside the Infusible Ink bag, and I will show you that, or not the Infusible Ink bag, but the cosmetic bag, and I'll show you that when we get to pressing. But it's going to tell us to do 385 for 40 seconds with light pressure. We'll do a warm peel, and it's going to show us our stacking order, and I'll show you that when we get to that point in the project. All right, let's get started. Okay, so I'm just opening up my Infusible Ink. This is the first time I have used this roll. And actually, it's the first time I've used this color and everything, so I'm excited to see how this turns out. So when you get Infusible Ink, in case you need to do a beginner course on this, you want to make sure that your hands are dry. You want to make sure that they're clean and they don't have any oil or lotion on them. You want to make sure that you have nice, clean hands because you're going to be working with ink, so you don't want to smear or smudge it with anything on your hands. So inside, you're going to have some directions that you can use, and it just gives you a website. You have a little sample of a little piece of material, just in case you want to sample any of your pieces. And then you have a little moisture reduction in here as well. It's a little decusant packet. So then you have your little, I think it's parchment paper. Is it parchment paper? Is that the exact same thing? Or is it, but no, it is not. It's butcher paper. I always get those two mixed up, but you have butcher paper as well, so we're going to use one of those. And then we have our transfer sheets. So I'm going to be using, again, this pinker one. Now, you'll notice that the color is very different from what comes on the box, so don't worry, it brightens up once you press it. And so I'm going to place this on my mat. And usually you use a green mat for Infusible Ink, but I only have the blue for the long mat, so that'll be just fine. It's brand new. I literally just opened it about 4 seconds ago, so it'll be nice and sticky and ready to go. So I'm just going to lay my Infusible Ink. Again, I have nice clean hands right on my mat here, and I'm going to use my brayer tool to really make sure that that is down. Okay. Looks great. So now what I can do is I'll open up my Joy. I'm going to go ahead and auto feed it in there. And it's going to just make sure that I have enough material and the mat is long enough. and then I can go ahead and click go, and I'm making sure that it's mirrored. I have to check my mirror a million times because I've made that mistake before. So now what I can do is I'm going to save the rest of these items, and I'm going to put them right back in the little black sleeve that it comes with. So I'm just going to roll this all back up, and I'll also put my extra pieces from my cut in here as well. So I'll put all of this in there. I'm going to put my little decusant in there as well, just so it keeps the moisture out. And then I'm going to store this right back in the box so that it is in a nice dry place. So we're also going to preheat our EasyPress. So let's bring that in here. We're going to click on, we're going to go ahead and hit the temperature button and time that up to 385. And then it's going to go for 40 seconds. So we'll click the timer button and bump that up to 40 seconds. And then we'll just let this preheat and it'll be all ready to go. The Infusible ink is really quick to weed, so we want to make sure that our EasyPress is all ready to go for the next step. So this is almost done cutting, I believe. I'm going to grab my paper trimmer, excuse me, and make sure that that is ready to go so I can get all of my extra pieces off and save them in my box as well. Okay, so I can go ahead and unload my mat. Looks awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip my mat over and just gently bend the mat and try to keep the Infusible ink straight. Looks good. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is just quickly trim off my extra pieces so I can save those scrap pieces for the next project. So we have a nice big piece here, and then we can also place it this way in the trimmer, being careful not to cut our design, of course, and we can save a little bit more. Okay, let me go ahead and zoom in and you guys can watch me weed the Infusible ink. So Infusible ink is really easy to weed. You kind of just crack it first, and then if it needs to, and then you just start peeling away. So I just kind of grab a little piece where I want to start, and you want to be sure that you don't scratch it with your nail or with any type of tool. That's why I just like to use my soft fingers. I didn't really get a good first peel off that, so let me get a better first one. There we go. Okay, so going to start peeling away, and it's really easy to weed. And I'm going to be sure that I leave the letters on the sheet and just start with that surrounding area. Okay, so that one's kind of started. I'm going to go back over here for a sec and get the rest. So it weeds really simply. It's really nice, and you just want to be careful if you have any small pieces. And if it gets a little overwhelming to have so much, you can just rip, you know, your little extras off and get those off of there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going, and then the second line has a lot of smaller pieces on there, so I'm going to go even slower on that part. And I'm just going to slowly go around those little letters and make sure that I just kind of hold down the letter and rip off the, whoops, I almost ripped the letter, and rip off the rest. Just continuing to weed, and if you remember, it had little pieces on the little side, little kind of little rays, and those just did not make it. They were way too small. So I just parted with them. I was totally okay with letting those go. It was going to be way too much of a headache trying to get those to stay put. So those went bye-bye, and that's okay. Now, if you see these little white sections on your Infusible ink that didn't quite come up, it's okay if you leave that as long as there's no ink on it. So if it's just the white part, don't stress too much about that, because if it doesn't have ink on it, then nothing's going to transfer over to your project. But you want to make sure that anything that has ink and that you don't want, you want to make sure that that's all off. So I'm just going to go through and weed the middle of my letters out, and I'm going to pop those out, and we'll be about ready to go. Okay, so it's all weeded, and again, there are some places where that white did not quite come off, and that's okay as long as it doesn't have ink on it. So don't worry too much about that. Just make sure everything that has ink on it that you don't want on your final project is gone. So now I'm just going to make sure my space is all clear, and we'll get our little bag in here and follow the directions and get this all pressed on. Okay, and so I grabbed my lint roller as well. I actually changed out my mat because my other polka dot one is so brand new, and I just don't want to accidentally get infusible ink on it. So I just tend to usually use my plain one for any project like this. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this down because this is actually going to go, I'm going to trim it to fit my design too, so that might even be a little too small. This is going to go inside my cosmetic bag, and again, they don't have the directions on the heat guide setting or section yet, so I'm trying to follow the tote bag one. And speaking of tote bag, that is coming this weekend. So all of you who voted for tote bag in that video, you are gonna see that coming up. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place this cardstock right inside, and I'm gonna make sure there's a tag inside here. I'm going to make sure that the tag is on the bottom of the cardstock. That way it just stays really flat in there. So that zipper again is nice and open. Slipping this right inside, making sure it fits really well. This is going to protect the ink from going on, it's only going to allow it to go on the front, and it's going to protect it from the back. So that way the ink doesn't transfer onto the back of the cosmetic bag. Okay, so now that part is done. Now what we're going to do is we are going to lint roll, I believe. So we are going to lint roll our bag here. You want to make sure that you definitely take this step. And don't forget, this is really important. And any lint roller will do. Sure, and I am getting some lint on my roller, so this was definitely worthwhile. Okay. So that looks good. Then we're going to take our butcher paper and we are going to cover it and preheat. So we'll cover our little tote bag and we're going to preheat. Whoop. So this is going to be 15 seconds of preheating. Okay, so now that we have preheated it, I'll set that back. And then what I'm going to do is I let my material, I let it go ahead. Oh, it's saying we need to hurry up and craft. I let my material completely cool before I put my transfer sheet on it, because if this is hot and you go and lay this down, it's going to start transferring. So if you then were going to lift it up for any reason, you're going to have it already have smudge on your design. So I just like to let it go ahead and cool. And I'm going to move this up for the pressing part. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our heat press does not touch this zipper up here. So we're going to press from here down. I'm a little concerned about the sides, to be honest, because they have a little bit of raised edge from the sewing. So I'm going to be really mindful. The bottom doesn't, but the sides are stitched on the sides. So I just want to make sure that I'm just a little concerned about the press laying flat enough on there. And I don't have the little baby EasyPress, well, I have the mini, but I don't have the little 6x7. I'm really trying to find it in pink, and I cannot find it anywhere. I've just been looking and looking and looking online, and I cannot find the little baby pink one. I really want that. So I don't have that one. If I had that one, I would be using that for this project, but since I don't, then that's okay. I think I might grab my tape, my heat resistant tape, and then we'll get all set. Okay, so that is cooler. It's still a little warm, but it's not hot like it was. So I'm just going to center that as best as I can, making sure I got everything weeded off of there. It's actually easier to see against the black. Okay, or the dark gray, I suppose. Make sure I get that as straight as possible. So it's not mandatory that you use the tape. I'm just nervous today about it, so I'm just going to put a little bit of tape on the sides just to keep it put. but that design has a lot of sticky, because the backing is sticky on the carrier sheet, so it has laid really nice. Okay, we are all set. So we put it ink side down. That's again why it's really important to mirror your image. And then we're going to cover it with our butcher paper. Okay, just like that. And you want to make sure your butcher paper is bigger than your heat plate on your press. And we're making sure that that is nice and clean. Okay. And again, I'm avoiding that zipper right up there. So I'm going to place my press down in this section, and I'm going to be mindful that the sides go down all the way as well, because they're a little bit raised from the little stitching. So I'm just a little nervous about that, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so our butcher paper is down. We are going to press with light pressure at 385 for 40 seconds and then slowly lift our press. So we want to make sure that we're not moving the press at all. So when we come and put it down, we are going to slowly place it just down and not, you know, at an angle. So we're going to get it right there. It's on, and I'm going to click the button, and I'm going to actually give a little bit of pressure on this. It says light, but I'm just so concerned about those sides, so I'm just going to give a little bit more. And it's going to count down for us 40 seconds. Okay, so the final 3 seconds, and we're going to lift straight up and then put our little press right back on its cradle. So now what we can do is we are going to slowly remove the butcher paper. Okay, and if this is clean, then you can reuse it. But if it has any ink on it at all, then you'll want to throw it away, because if there's ink on this, it will transfer to your next project, and that would be such a bummer. So I think it did a good job. It says to do a warm peel. So and it says you can use the tweezers too if you need help getting any little pieces, but all of my pieces, I don't have any really small ones that are going to need to come up, so I think they will be just fine. I'm so tempted to look. So I'm going to I'm just going to let it cool for a second. Okay, so let's go ahead and peel it up. So it's warm, and I waited a minute or so. So we're just going to peel up. Looks awesome. Oh, it looks great, you guys. Look. And all of it transferred. It looks like there was a tiny little area on the K and maybe a little tiny area on the W that didn't quite get enough off, but it looks great. I'm really happy with it. So then I can take my little butcher paper, or my cardstock out from inside, and then you'll see that it didn't get on the back, so that's great. Look how pretty that looks. I'm super happy with that. And I love the variation in color. So that, what was it, Sunset Lagoon, I believe? I don't know. I'll link it below. But that turned out really neat. And I love the little text and font. And again, those little 3 rays did not make it to the final project, but that's okay. Sometimes things just work out that way, and that's okay. So this will zip close. You can put little makeup in there. Again, I'm going to do another tutorial on how to make this a little pencil bag or something for supplies, because that kind of fits my use for a little bit better. That's what I would probably tend to use something like this for. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please be sure to give it a thumbs up if you found this helpful. Let me know what you're planning to do with your little cosmetic bags, if you are going to do like something with supplies, or if you're going to do something for makeup. I heard a lot of you say that you were going to do these as gifts, and that's a wonderful idea. This is definitely going to be a gift for somebody. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed so that you see Sunday's post on the Infusible Ink tote bag. It's going to be really, really pretty. I'm super excited about it, and I can't wait to show you. So let me know what you thought of this, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Have a good day.